Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome back to our space. So today we are going to be making a spring wreath for your front door. I had a lot of requests to make spring wreaths for people's front door in specific colors this year. And so I am going to go ahead and start making some of them and putting them out on my channel. So for this wreath, as you can see, I have this grapevine wreath in front of me. It is 18-inch wreath form that came from Joann Fabrics back earlier in the month when they had their spring sale. It was buy 3 for $10. I also picked up all of these beautiful picks that were buy 1 and get 1 get 2 actually free at the time, and the same thing for this beaded garland was buy 1 get 2 free, and these were regularly only $2.99. The picks, they kind of range from $1.99 all the way up to $5.99. I also picked up these 2 ribbons earlier in the year from Joann Fabrics. I may use one of these. Actually, I did use one of these, but I ended up taking it off, and you will see that in the end. And I was thinking about using this beautiful ribbon here too that came from Michael's, but I did not end up using it. But they had that this year on sale, and I do believe it was 60% off. I also am going to be using some Dollar Tree products. I have these little bird houses. They come in a couple of different styles. That one has 2 holes in the front, and I like the natural wood finish. I also have some of the plastic butterflies because this wreath may be exposed to the elements, so I'm not going to use my paper ones, but I love these plastic ones, and I've used these on a lot of different projects, and they will work well on this wreath form. I also ended up picking up these little birdies earlier in the year. They are really cute. As you can see, you get 6 of these, and they were $4.49 at Hobby Lobby, and I had them in my stash. My mother actually bought these for me, and I'm going to use a couple of those. So here we are, and we are wrapping around this beaded garland all the way around the wreath form. I went ahead and I used this whole one. I didn't know when I would be using these colors again, and I wasn't sure how much of the wreath I was going to cover up. If I were to do it again, knowing how I made this, I would probably only use half of it because you don't see most of it. But I think it's really pretty and adds a simple touch. Then I'm going to take the entire stem of these flowers here, and in a second it'll be more into frame when I push the wreath up, and I'm going to just stick the stems down until I figure out where I would like them here on the wreath form. I tell you, when I do wreaths like this, when people make a request, I just sometimes just put the flowers and stuff on as I go, and I don't have an actual plan. So I have 2 of the flowers, the big ones on, and one of the other picks, and I decided that I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of these birdhouses, and I'm going to be using the wood stems from Dollar Tree. These are birch wood stems that come in a little pack, and I'm going to elevate the house so it's not completely blocked by the flowers, and it sets natural in the bottom of this wreath farm. So I'm going to take some more of these little wood stems, and they come in a huge pack. I have a ton of them in my stash, and I'm going to stack them up so then this house is taller than the other house. And you can do it as high as you want, or you can skip this step and just even get a stick out of your yard if you want to elevate one of them. I'm just doing it so you can see both of them in the middle of the wreath form. And I'm using Gorilla Hot Glue in my Ryobi glue gun. So now I'm just adjusting to make sure it's going to fit the way I want it to. And luckily that house top that I'm gluing sits on the bottom of the other house to give it a little more stability with the number of actual wood stems that I ended up using. So now I have glued all of that down into the center of my wreath form, and I'm adding more florals to make it look a lot fuller here. Now here in this whole step here, all I'm doing is taking the stems from these picks and I'm tucking them down in, and then I'm gluing them underneath once I know where I want it to go. Grapevine wreath forms, they are very picky with hot glue, so once you get hot glue on them, it will not come off. So be careful if you're going to glue down something. Make sure you know you want it to go there before you glue it down. Here I'm tucking in some other florals that came on some picks that I kind of had in my stash, or they came on one of the picks and I took it apart just to cover up more of the reform and to add some different color variations in it. I am also using some of these white daisies, and these are actually from Dollar Tree. I've had these in my stash from last year, but they do have them this year. I just thought I put a little more variety of flowers on there. And here I'm taking a little butterfly in the plastic part off the actual sticker part and sticking it into that flower that is underneath that birdhouse. I stuck that there, and you will see that I take it off. I'm not sure if I show it in this video, but I filled in a lot of florals on here, and then I took a step back and looked at it and decided I didn't like as many daisies as I put on it to be visible in the front, and I really didn't like that one orange flower underneath the birdhouse because it defeated the purpose of having the wood stems. You couldn't really see them, so I ended up taking it off. And here I also pulled out some moss out of my stash that I just have in a Ziploc baggie from other projects, and I decided to put some on the bottom of the birdhouses to give it a little more texture and a little more interest. And I have some yellow florals that came off of one of the picks that are really tiny, and so I stuck a little bit of those onto the moss, and I actually cover up pretty much the entire bottom of each one of those birdhouses. I just thought it added to the fact that it was kind of like a little tree house, and they were kind of up there where moss would get on them. Now I'm taking a couple of the little birds, and I picked a yellow one because the theme is yellow and orange and some whites and greens and stuff on here. And so I picked a yellow one, and I decided to go ahead and put it on the lower house. And I just set it on the little perch that the bird is supposed to be sitting on. I used some hot glue to get it on there firmly, and I stuck the glue on the side and on the bottom of the bird so it would not come off. And then I decided I'm going to use a little green one, so we have kind of different interests in the birds. And I did the same thing. I hot glued the bottom of it and the side of it to the house, and I actually tilted it a little so it looked like the green bird was looking at the little yellow bird. So now you can see at the top here, I'm showing you that there's a bow on the top. I just took and made a triple bow. I made one bow and stuck it on top of another bow and stuck it on top of another bow so it'd be nice and fluffy. And then I looked at it and I thought, I don't like it. It's kind of busy. It doesn't really go with it. I added some like little sheer ribbon to it, and then I took it off. So now you can see I kind of changed up the wreath from what it looked like laying on the table. I removed that orange flower underneath the birdhouse, and I put a butterfly there instead. And then it had a lot of yellow on it and not as much orange, and I really like the orange ones I had, so I moved the flowers around so it would be like every other flower would be the big ones. One orange, one yellow, one orange, one yellow, and then we ended with a yellow at the end. And I ended up loving it that way. Here you can see the little butterfly that I added onto the wood stems instead of that flower, and I think it gave it a lot of interest. And then some of the little wood pieces fell off of the wreath, and I stuck them in around the birds for a little extra whimsy with it. I love how this turned out now. If I would have thought of not putting on a bow on it on the top, I probably wouldn't have put the orange flower at the top, but once you get hot glue on a grapevine wreath, you have to cover it up because you can't peel it off. So there's hot glue where that ribbon was, and that's why I put it there. So that's it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and for liking and always sharing my videos. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, loves.